Welcome back to Craft of the Yeti. Today, we are making magnetic, frozen dungeon tiles. The first step is to cut the tiles from XPS foam. I like to use the 1.25" per 5 feet that was made famous by Wyloch's Armory. So we're milling strips 2.5 inches wide. The XPS at my local hardware store is always 1 inch thick by default, and I like my dungeon tiles to be about 1/2 inch, so I'm milling these down using my Proxxon wire cutter. To ensure the tiles are square, I trim off a bit before using a combination of the Shifting Lands guide and the default guide to get the basic shape of the tiles. They should be 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches when we are done with this process. I am using the hot wire cutter to insert the grid into the tiles. This can also be done with a knife and pen, but I'm a bit lazy and this is much quicker. I just tap the top and sides of the tiles against the wire, which provides a decent grid. I'm going to be making a few different variations with walls. One of those variations is a diagonal tile, which I'm making by cutting the tile blank in half with my utility knife and a straight edge. Any tile that has a wall will need to be trimmed a bit. The walls are all made from dollar store foam core. I've already peeled the paper off, and each wall strip is 1 inch tall, which will make the walls stick up about 1/2 inch from the tiles. Once everything has been cut, it is time to texture with a foil ball. I also round the edges of the tiles with a pencil. This helps keep the grid when 2 tiles are touching. Can't forget the walls. The walls are attached to the trimmed edge of the tiles with hot glue. I just glue them on, trim the walls, texture the new edge, and repeat. I know it can be gimmicky, but I really like the magnet system RP Archive uses. To ensure all the magnets are in place in the same spot on each tile, I made a jig out of chipboard. Thanks, Wyloch. It took a few attempts to get the gluing right, but we did eventually get there. Push pins were inserted into the jig. These mark where the magnets should be inserted on all the tiles. If you are doing something similar, I would recommend gluing the push pins. I did that off camera later. Here's a test, and we are in business. I made quite a few tiles, and after some trial and error, I found the best method was to make a template piece. You can see that below, marked top. First, I press my tile into the jig to get magnet placement. Next, I use the tip of my hot glue gun to create a hole for the magnet. Then I insert the top magnet. Next comes paint. I covered everything in Mod Podge mixed with black paint. I only do this to things that will get decent use like these tiles. I then use 2 coats of Pewter Gray, followed by a dry brush of blue, and then a dry brush of white. Once the paint is 100% dry, I added a dark wash made of black, brown, and turquoise inks mixed with water. I made sure to clean up any excess pooling. Whenever I have leftover wash from a project like this where I may make more, I like to save the leftovers in a labeled container. The last painting step is to do another round of white dry brushing. To make the tiles seem like they belong in the frozen north of Icewind Dale, I added some snow. This was done by mixing AK ice sparkles with tacky glue and applying with the back end of a brush. I tried a few other methods, but I like the semi-melted look this combo provided. I tried not to go too heavy on any one piece and to mix things up from piece to piece. Now, onto the good bits. Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe for more.